It is 9:30 in the morning, and Rob is jonesing for Justice League. You've never been so excited in your life. What's the most romantic thing that one can give to another? Ah, yes, the
Justice League trailer.
A black and
as
white
long
trailer
as that
with
Leonard
a rendition.
Cohen.
Yeah, with a
Yeah,
rendition of
if
Hallelujah.
that damn song is in the new trailer that drops today, I swear to break his femur and use it to start beating Zack Snyder. I do not want that Leonard Cohen song on there anymore. Done with it.
Well, it's gonna be there. It's gonna be now performed by John and Andre. What you didn't realize is that both of them are gonna do it a cappella style in the background. They're gonna sing it like that's the new style. Anyways, hey everyone, welcome to the Heroes World Quarantine Podcast. I am Stu, your host of this podcast. As always, here are John and Andre, the owners and proprietors of Heroes World. Please say hello to the people at home.
What's up, people?
Hey guys, how are you?
And of course, the resident prince of mischief himself, Mr. Rob Goodett.
Hi, happy Valentine's Day, guys. Mwah!
There we go. Whenever you might be watching this, hopefully it is on Valentine's Day. If not,
And then it was the day after. If you haven't watched us on Valentine's Day, run out to Shoppers and grab all the stuff at like discount price.
I think it was already on sale last night.
There's a professional shopper.
Yeah, professional shopper. So thank you all for joining us. Of course, this is a podcast where we have conversations that we typically have in the store and record it and share with the world. So we're going to do a various assortment of questions. As always, we're starting off with our review and thoughts of WandaVision. So Rob, the game begins with you. Tell us what happened in WandaVision without giving us any positive or negative adjectives.
All new Halloween Spooktacular.
I'm so glad there's only 3 episodes of me having to review this.
John, what's the title of this episode, please?
All new Halloween Spooktacular.
Fantastic.
So our episode starts off. This is a parody of Malcolm in the Middle. It picks up from last week's episode where the surprise reveal of Evan Peters from the Bryan Singer Fox X-Men universe, who was Quicksilver. He is now in Quicksilver or Pietro in the MCU. So he is integrated into the family as Uncle Pietro. As John said, it's spooktacular. So it takes place at Halloween. Wanda and Vision and even Quicksilver are all in their classic 60s garb taking place. As I've said before for the last 6 weeks, that tapestry is now completely pretty much coming down as to what exactly is happening. So you've got the dual storylines of the town of the Vision is starting to become more curious as to what exactly is happening, and he decides to go off on a walkabout on his own and starts to see the limits of the charade or the shroud that has been covering the Vision's head. While in the meantime, on the outside of the hexagon, as Darcy likes to say, Darcy, Monica Rambeau, and Jimmy Woo, is that his name?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
They have been kicked out. They've been essentially escorted out by the director, who has decided he wants to literally kill all of the residents within the hex to be able to destroy Wanda. And obviously Monica Rambeau says, no, you can't be doing that. You can't sacrifice all of these people. We can save her, and he has none of it, and he wants them out of there. Monica gets a text message linking back to last week's episode of messaging her friend who said he'll be there in an hour. So that's interesting. We didn't get to see he or she, sorry. Right. Her contact will be in an hour. Monica and Jimmy, there's a fight scene that takes place. You see Jimmy Woo throwing some fisticuffs. And one of the most interesting parts is that the Vision decides to finds the boundary of the hexagon and proceeds to attempt to escape and to see what's on the other side. And when Wanda becomes aware of this, she manifests an even larger dome to be able to ensure that he is still safe, because he's literally disintegrating away as he's trying to break free of these bonds that Wanda has put him in, or somebody has put him in. And the episode ends off with a number of agents are now stuck inside of the hexagon, and who knows what happens next week.
Perfect. Thank you. John, as we go to you
Yes.
now, for all the folks at home who are listening, who you know spoilers are coming. So John, spoilers are happening. Say whatever you want. Give us your thoughts as the person who is the most so on the show. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah. So I was like, I think there's 3 more episodes to my understanding, and the rumor is that they're going to be an hour long each. So now we're treading into like full-fledged movie territory. So like the show, I feel like it's I don't know if it's purposefully introducing this comic book concept or not. But if you read a lot of comic books like we do, there's usually a main event. It's like a 6-issue main event, and then there's sometimes like a 4-issue prequel or issues that lead up. I feel like that's what they're kind of doing. So it's kind of neat, and I kind of appreciate it a little more for this. So it's kind of like all these first episodes laying the groundwork where your prequel like setting it up, and we'll see if these next 3 episodes just kind of blow up into a full-fledged movie. So since I'm not as good as you guys at kind of summarizing and being eloquent about it, I just
John,
came up
you're gonna next member Winter Soldier.
yeah,
you're gonna do
I
that
mean,
one.
In my review, I just decided to make a top 5 list of the things that I thought was cool in this episode. So number 5
is it on a cue card? Or you can throw it?
It's on my computer. Yeah. I got to cheat. I didn't memorize it. Yeah. So number
John.
5 is sword merch. Man, whoever's in charge of the sword merchandise is it's to a point where it's hilarious. They have like those smocks. They have sword written on the back, and then a big sword on the back of it, and then they're wearing hats now with the logo for sword on it. I'm like, whoever's branding is hilarious. It's more so than Shield. Number 4, Jimmy Woo and Darcy, the double eyebrow raise when they're reacting to the sword director's plan and just being like, oh yeah, we're just gonna annihilate everything. So I thought that was pretty funny. Number 3, the sword agents at the end turning into clowns. I thought that was hilarious. Right. They're like run, and then they turn into clowns, and I just laughed. I was like, they're totally clowns. Number 2, actually, Vision's sacrifice. So Vision, like I stated before, I didn't really like this character, but I liked this episode where he's basically trying to save people. I will question why he doesn't just head touch everybody in the whole thing and just free them all or whatever, but it's cool that he's willing to fly to pieces to save everybody, and he's just like curled up on the ground. And I take back what I said about his costume. Please don't put him in the yellow and green anymore. I'm fine with his regular costume, but he looked cool. He's like walking around. I question why he doesn't just float everywhere, but I think that's a technology limitation. And then number 1 is the fact that this show is a backdoor pilot for the Jimmy Woo featuring Darcy show, which I love that the internet has taken this whole thing. Jimmy got to kick some ass, and things like that. They've taken this show and they're like, hey, we want to see the Jimmy Woo show featuring or the Randall Park show featuring Kat Dennings, and I think that's just amazing.
As their X-Files style TV show where they walk around and solve stuff. Yeah. It is interesting, John, to your point about Vision and his costume. I think they showed us again that this is what you guys wanted, and then here it is, and all spandex and everything else, and everyone's
he's like, I'm a Mexican wrestler or something like that. I was like, yeah, no, okay, this is too over the top. I'm fine with the regular Avengers costume. Sure, he looks fine.
Yeah,
but actually, I kind of care about the character. I thought his journey in this episode was really cool, and that he wanted to save these people. So I thought that was cool.
But John, don't you think that every time he's touched someone and released them, all of them have freaked out? Like none of them have a regular human being.
But I feel like if he creates a whole mob together, then at least they know they can talk.
They would probably just kill each other, John. If you release as many people that are crazy. We've saw what happens in mobs, John. No good things coming. No rational things happen when you get 100 people all like, what do we do? I don't know. Loud noises. Where do we go? And things never turn out very well.
And I did go back and watch Age of Ultron. So shout outs to the last episode of WandaVision that actually made me want to rewatch Age of Ultron, which I actually wasn't a fan. And even in the recap for this episode, they showed clips from Age of Ultron, which was kind of neat.
Yeah.
But Vision does kind of touches Ultron's head, and he uses that power to separate Ultron from the internet. I don't know exactly what the power is, but he does demonstrate some type of interface power or ability.
Again, the gems and the way that the stones that they work in the Marvel universe are very unique and strange. I'll get to that later with Andre, as he can give us also a history, as they've changed the colors as well, because, originally there were different colors. And I don't know if Andre still remembers, but now they're all changed to the MCU colors. So that's a thing. But great. I'll jump to Rob. Rob, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm not a big Malcolm in the Middle fan. It just wasn't my
Shame on
jam
you.
when it
Shame
came on.
on
But I
you.
never really. That's fine. Shut up. I never
great.
really gave it.
That's great.
I never gave it a lot. I just wasn't my thing at the time. I actually found this I used the episode as in the Malcolm in the Middle episode. I actually thought that the jokes were kind of funnier than they have been in the past. A couple of things stuck out. I agree with, first of all, is Agnes. In episodes past, she seems to be in on what's going on, and yet in this episode, she was completely unaware. And when Vision touched her head, she was like, "Oh my God, are you here to rescue us?" Like, it was very interesting that she was not. There was definitely disassociated with who she's been. We've seen in the past number of episodes. I don't know if that's on purpose. I'm assuming it is. Maybe they'll explain what that is. I like the commercial with the shark and the kid on the island. It was very 90s.
That was dark.
Yeah.
No, but it was very 90s. The claymation, like that. I mean, that was, any number of commercials in the 90s all kind of had that, and it made me laugh, right? You're right. It is dark though, John. The parallel.
John's thinking immediately of the Clay Fighters, the video game that he would play all the time. As
I think Brisk Ice Tea used the clay.
Yeah, they did. But the parallels of him, kind of dying, withering away to Vision withering away as he's trying to break free of this bond. I liked Evan Peters as Pietro. I really enjoyed the kick-ass comment that Wanda makes, because obviously both Evan Peters and Aaron Taylor Johnson, who was Pietro in the Age of Ultron, they were both in Kick-Ass, the movie. So I thought that was kind of like really funny little tongue-in-cheek conversation, which was Kick-Ass. Overall, I enjoyed the episode. There were a couple of things though that kind of stuck out. I thought that, I don't know if they have different directors each week, but the fight scene where Agent Wu and Monica Rambeau are trying to get away, I don't know if it was the music, I don't know the way it was filmed. It felt very ABC Shield-ish, which was a bit of a different tone than when we saw in the past week. There's just something about it seemed really amateurish to me, and I wasn't quite sure why. Maybe I'm just being picky about it. I like I love the callbacks to the original costumes. That stuff was hilarious. But admittedly, like, I know we have one more episode, I think, where it's like a Modern Family type ripoff. Part of me is kind of getting tired of this dual
Shame
show.
on you. Shame on you, Rob.
It's just that, I know we have 3 episodes left, but I feel like we're really kind of stretching this idea. Like, I would really like to kind of get into.
We have 9 episodes. That was 9. So
we have 3 episodes left, right? That was episode 6. We have 7, 8, 9 remaining. So I just feel like with 3 episodes left, I'd really kind of like to, because I feel more enamored with what's happening outside with Sword and them trying to figure out the issue than I am with what's happening inside. The only reason I was really enjoyed what happened inside, well, again, because of the Halloween, the costumes, but Vision really trying to understand he doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
And I think that they've been positioning Wanda as the big bad of this entire, I don't know if she is. Her power set is through the roof right now. And I don't know if she is in control or if somebody is manipulating her and essentially giving her a boost of her powers to be able to expand this hexagon world.
It's magic, Rob. It's misdirection. We know it is. It's just a matter of
of course. And a bit disappointed, to be honest with you, that this was, last week was a 41-minute episode. This went back to 32 minutes. So I was a bit disappointed. I wanted to see that progression of it being longer. And maybe, it's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about this and seeing a lot of people online saying, I just want all of it. And where are our patience levels and this and that? And I started thinking about, Game of Thrones was the last real show that was a week-to-week appointment viewing. What's the difference between Game of Thrones and, like, say, WandaVision or the upcoming Winter Soldier? And I think the problem is that HBO is a network. These are streaming services. And I think that you start to get a bit frustrated when you have a streaming service show that's giving you weekly episodes as opposed to a network television show. And so So it is asking a lot of people's patience, and that's where I'm saying I listen. I'm enjoying this show. I want more. You know, give it to me, mainline it into my arm. Give me, but I'm getting tired of this week to week stuff. I just want it.
So to your quick points, Rob, before I jump to Andre, they did mention that WandaVision is now the most watched show on the planet.
There's nothing else going on.
Exactly. The numbers are sky high in terms of sub numbers, in terms of what people are watching. The Nielsen ratings, like, yep, the chatter, everything's happening right now is what Disney wants. It's the most popular. It's the most this, the most that, because there's nothing else really to watch. But it still pales in comparison to The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian was a beast amongst itself, and it probably did double what WandaVision's doing. But it doesn't take much for WandaVision to still be the number one show on TV right now, and it's that the build up that's happening. And to both of your points, hopefully it leads to something, which I'm sure it will. It's just a matter of whether it's going to continue on with us half an hour. We knew going into it that they said it was a 6-hour show, so if you just do the math right now, it's like how many minutes there've been. It's like, well, you can assume that the last shows are going to eat up that last 6 hours. So we'll see what happens. Andre, why don't you share with us your thoughts on this episode?
All right, I want to touch back onto what Rob just said, because I think he makes a great point, comparing it to like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. But I don't think the issue is how it's delivered. I think the issue is the pacing of the show, and we've talked about this numerous times. I think the reason why people could go through a Game of Thrones is that there's a lot going on in the show, and it leaves you with looking forward to what's happening next, and there's lots of stuff to digest and chew on. And while I think WandaVision has some stuff for you to think about, I don't think it's of the same level of anticipation. There's the majority of this of the viewing audience probably doesn't have any comic book background, so them in their lame costumes, because they did make them look lame, they could have made them look a little bit better or whatever, but that's falling flat on them. They can't guess who a villain is outside of Wanda, because the MCU hasn't given them that information. Sure, if they're go-getters, they'd be like, oh, let me go on Wikipedia, let me go on the internet, let me read all these articles where comic readers are saying, oh, it could be Mephisto, oh, it could be Nightmare, oh, it could be, but those people don't mean anything to people who don't watch the show. I'm watching the show with my wife. It's a 30-minute show, 20-minute show. If we don't watch it at 9 in the morning, she's falling asleep, and she has no idea what's going on in the show, right? And she watches a ton of TV and can follow a ton of TV, so I don't think it's an issue of her not being able to follow it. I just think the format, and I've used this word before, and I think it's too indulgent on itself. Like Rob said, at this point now, the comedy shtick, it's lost. Each episode, if I was to do it, the first 3 strong in the comedy bit, but then it should be now moving that we're spending more time outside trying to figure out what's going on, so the audience is with them, being Sword, figuring out, and then we are watching through the television, not being there. What I liked about this particular episode, I liked that it was a little bit more of a serious tone when they got to it. Like I loved seeing Vision walk to the edge of town and seeing that person kind of in a repeat loop, just trying to hang up the thing. I liked the tear coming down. I liked when he touched Agnes, and then Agnes, breaks the fourth wall, and he's like, what's an Avenger? Like, those were moments that were exciting me, because I think, honestly, like, I wasn't a fan of Malcolm in the Middle. I don't think I ever watched a full episode. It wasn't for me. So this whole episode fell flat. The only thing I liked about this particular episode, and I don't, not to sound sexist or anything, but Scarlet Witch, Wanda, looked great in her old costume. You know what I mean? Like, it was like that, brought back my love of the character when George Perez drew the character and stuff like that, so I think the serious bits that were dropped into it, like when she sees Pietro and he's got the bullet holes, and when she expands the box to cover Vision, like, I'm like, wow, like, but again, where's this power coming from? And also, if we've only got 3, if we're at the halfway point right now,
we're past the halfway point.
Okay, so we're past the halfway point right now. I'm talking in our 6 hours. I'm just like, I can't help but feel if Wanda is not the villain, they have done a piss poor job dropping any type of clue, hints, anything, because I like to consider myself I pay attention when I watch shows, when I read stuff and whatever, attention to detail. I have not seen anything that would make me think that it is some other person pulling the strings.
Yeah.
Again, I've gone online a little bit and looked at a lot of people are saying, oh, the hexagon, and there was a lot of hexagons in the Captain Marvel movie. So maybe it's the Kree, maybe it's the Supreme Intelligence, maybe it's this. And I'm like, well, possibly. I hope they can bring it back to the MCU. But we were talking. I was talking a little bit the other day, and really, if this is them backdooring Mephisto into the MCU, I'm like, wow. Not only is that a bold choice, but I'm like, wow, you're gonna put basically an analog for the devil into the MCU, but you couldn't have put an analog for death into the Infinity War thing, which to me would have given Thanos an actual real legacy to his name, the Mad Titan. Because one of my big complaints to those movies is like, at a certain point, Thanos is right. Like, I'm gonna get rid of half of the people. You got a 50-50 chance of living a better life.
Yeah.
And I think more people would have been like, okay, I'm gonna roll the dice, 50-50 odds. That's pretty damn good. And especially once he got the gems, right? It would be painless, right? You just snapped out of existence. Whereas before, when he didn't have the power gems, he was literally going to a planet and killing half of the people. Right. So I just think if they want to now bring Mephisto in, but then they didn't want to bring in a cosmic entity called Death, and he was killing half the people to get her attention as the Infinity Gauntlet original saga. I think this is it's kind of might be a little bit too out there for TV.
Yeah.
But also, why do it now as opposed to doing it?
We have a couple more episodes to go. To Rob's point, I think Game of Thrones is a different animal because it's based on a book. You have thousands of pages, which are trying to cram into a television show, which in many people's opinions for the last season didn't work. You had different perspectives of characters. And if WandaVision was only one snippet and then you jumped over, like if you combine this show, Loki, and Captain, Falcon and Winter Soldier in one show, and you're intersplicing between areas, that's Game of Thrones. It's basically multiple storylines and multiple POVs into one thing. So it's not the perfect kind of mix, because again, it's multiple perspectives rather than this one where it's just
right.
Wanda.
I get that, Stu,
So,
but at the same time, it's also that is part of writing and pacing and stuff like that. This show could have multiple points of view because we never see what any of the people in the town are doing outside of when they're really interacting with Wanda. Right? Like, how cool would it have been? Not cool, but I'm not just saying we could have seen what Agnes is doing with her husband, because we've only seen like that one little flashback. Her brother mentions, hey, what did you do with all the kids? Because there was never any kids, and now there's a whole bunch of kids. I see that you're using your power this way. Like, again, they can show multiple points of view, but they're not choosing to, but that's their decision. So I think the comparison can still be made. But again, you just have to look at the technicality and the style of what the show is being written for. And that's cool because that's what they're doing. This is how they want to tell their story, right?
And I think we go back all the time and talking about the fact that the show, to Rob's comments, that is still short, and really it should be 42. It should be more. If you don't have commercial breaks, push it to 45 minutes. Like, what is the big deal for this? But in terms of the characters themselves, the balance is that John had no real opinion on Wanda and for Vision. And throughout the show, it does show that they genuinely care about each other. There is a relationship. There is some sort of meaning to it, because in the other movies, it's like the two of them talking about paprika and like, why would they die for each other? Even in the Avengers movie, you're like, oh, they're together in like Scotland. It's like, well, why are they even doing it? Why does she think that it's important to keep him alive? And this show is at least giving us some insights to their relationship and highlighting why they care about each other in that scenario. So it is something to bring up, but again, of course you want more. We always want more. It's just the balance of what they're deciding to do.
But here's the interesting thing that I think we also fail to maybe recognize is that a lot of TV shows that have mysteries and they unravel, they give you a lot of mysteries. It makes you think, well, what's happening with these people and why is this guy acting this way? I've used this in this term before, especially when we talked about Mandalorian. We're running out of road. And so there's a lot
Unless
of
it's
stuff
Fast
that
and Furious, and then the
Right.
road is forever.
If that's not a mystery.
Or Back to the Future. Roads, we don't need any roads. But there's a lot here that they've been like, the couple from the first couple of, the 3 episodes, Deborah Joe Rupp, we talked about the neighbor who was cutting into the wall and why he's acting kind of strange.
Yeah.
Herb. There's so much that hasn't even come close to being explained. The only thing that they've, and now you've got this new mystery about why does, Monica's, her DNA has now been rewritten, right? Going back and forth and out again through the hexagon. So obviously they're setting up her future power set down the road, right? But there's all these unanswered questions. And it starts to get a little bit daunting trying to remember all these things that you want them to acknowledge and just tell you. Like, I want to know why these people are acting. I want to know why, what happened to the funny guy with the mustache, the one neighbor. He was hilarious in those first couple of episodes, and you haven't seen him since. Where did Deborah Jo Rupp go? I don't understand. Why are we like? There's all these things happening, and you only have 3 episodes, or maybe it equates to to 2.25 hours of content left.
I would imagine that if we're going by the time frame, Rob, it's half an hour for this next episode, Modern Family, and then 2 hours at the end. So it'd be a 2-hour finale.
Okay, sure.
Based
So
on
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours, yeah.
But still, is that enough to quench the of all this information? Because the last thing, and it's a legitimate fear, the last thing you want to do is end this show and being like, great,
Another
but
cliffhanger.
What? Yeah. Now
It's
I
going to
got
be
to
another
wait.
cliffhanger. Yeah, for sure. It's cliffhanger.
Yeah, but you want to have 90% of the answers. I don't mind a small cliffhanger. Say, ooh, now I can't wait for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. But I want to know that everything I've invested in there's a payoff. And again, when you're running out of road, that payoff becomes problematic. And to what Andre was saying about going on the internet, this is the one thing I despise about going on some of these quote unquote entertainment or comic book websites, is that all of these authors or article owners or whatever, they all post, oh, did you see this Easter egg? It might be Mephisto, it might be this or that. I don't read those anymore. I can't, because first of all, I find them to be either nonsensical. 2, I don't give a shit what I think what they're saying they're is stupid.
Nick Fury had a hexagon in his screen at the end of whatever.
Or 3, they're giving me and something that I really want to happen, and it's not going to happen. And you're like, man, I'm going to be disappointed. So I actually don't read any of those articles anymore, because I just find them to be too. Listen, I'm a big fan of the website comicbook.com, but after every episode, there's like 13 or 14 different articles about what this could be, what that could be. That's not an article. Those are just opinion pieces. I don't care anymore about.
But I think as we close out on this topic and move on to our next stuff, I think Andre mentioned it a few podcasts ago about, where are the rest of the superheroes while this occurrence is happening. And unfortunately, of course, based on production costs and whatnot, they're all in Australia. They all can't show up. So there will be, and it's, I think we all know that Doctor Strange is showing up. It's just a matter of when. So is it?
You think it's going to be him?
It's going to be him. It's going to be either end credits, or he's going to solve this situation. Be like, oh yeah, let me, Sorcerer Supreme, solve this problem, because you're
IG Magini style.
Yeah. I know what's going on because I'm the Sorcerer.
But is that confirmed, or that's just your hypothesis?
There's one person that's coming, right? That's what Elizabeth Olsen has said. There's one Luke Skywalker style cameo, a la Mandalorian, that is still to come. That will blow
and if you
everybody
go by
away, so.
IMDb stuff before, it's like, if you were really looking into it, he was attached and then removed, and same with Evan Peters, and Evan Peters has been there too. But it does lead into the multiverse of madness because this leads directly to that movie. So if Wanda, if he shows up at the very end to be like, I got you, like, you got to come with me and we'll sort this out.
But doesn't that seem really like it just cheapens the whole ride of what Shield and Sword could do? Because like literally, if he just comes in and opens the Eye of Agamotto, and she's and the whole town's gone, like, then what was the point?
because he
Right?
protects the
Like
world from the Avengers protect from global threats.
no, but
he protects from the
but he
multiverse.
What if
could've,
it's
like
Wong?
literally what is he doing that he couldn't have come at day 1 or day 2 or like actually who knows? We don't know
Andre,
how
as,
long
as,
this
a,
thing
as
has
a
been,
comic
right?
book reader, Doctor Strange is not always in this realm. He is always in other places. He could be somewhere else.
Yeah,
And he
but
could
Stu,
be like,
you just said it as a comic book reader, like
Yeah.
the MCU hasn't necessarily, broadened our horizons. Like I think that's where I get, too caught up. I'm comparing everything to the comics and stuff
You
like
can't,
that.
yeah.
But at this point, you can't. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, what is he doing? Sure, he could be somewhere, but technically, there's it. As per
Or
the
he could
Doctor
be
Strange
nowhere.
movie, there's those sanctum sanctorums everywhere. So
I think only one
sorry,
left.
not everywhere, but on the
Two
they
left.
protect
Two
they
left.
protect
Yeah.
the planet. So somebody somewhere must have heard about this, and there's many of the we know there's many sorcerers because we saw them at the end of
Unless
Endgame, right?
Baron Mordo has been taking them out, which is what he said at the end of the movie. It's like there's
Which
too
would
many-
be great. Which would be great. Like again, even Baron Mordo might be like people like, hey, what's going on here? Let me go and take her powers if this is
Yeah.
the balance,
Anyways,
right?
it,
Yeah.
it would be cool to get that cameo or whatever. And again, as comic book readers, we do know that Doctor Strange has interacted with Wanda several times and stuff.
Dirty.
But I think it's yeah. I just would have hoped that they would have written a situation that had a solving moment.
Let's
But
see what happens.
Can I
Yeah.
segue or not segue? Can I digress for 1 second? That part with Monica Rambeau and her DNA's being rewritten. Please, 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 please tie that not only to her going through the shield or the hex, but also tie that to the fact that she was snapped. Because that to me would mean, okay, she snaps, so her DNA is already kind of altered, and then she goes in and it triggers it. Because if everybody's DNA is changed because they're in that place, that's a lot of superhero.
Well, it's
Well,
Well,
or a lot of
yeah, but the
potential
problem
powers,
is, though,
right?
is that
It's-
half of those heroes who were snapped, like Spider-Man, that means you're altering his powers potentially as well.
I think, Andre, to your point, it's you when
No, but he didn't go through the
Darcy-
snap.
Darcy
he didn't
mentioned
go
it's
through
like-
the wall.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Darcy mentioned that she's gone through that field once and there's high levels of radiation. If she goes through again, she could die. So to your point, I think she's gonna go through because we know the trailers show her going through the trail like one more time.
Mhm.
So she goes through one more time, and that's when she gets the powers of Captain Marvel.
Grayskull.
So
I hope it's Photon. I think they're gonna have to do Photon.
100%.
Yeah,
she's
because they
gonna
can't
get
do Captain Marvel.
She's
right?
gonna
'Cause
be
there's-
Photon as and to her mom because you saw it on the plaque that her
Yeah.
mom's call sign. So she will have superpowers, and then that will lead into her because I think is she already confirmed for Captain Marvel too. So
think so,
she'll
yeah.
have powers and she'll be in that one as well. So it is leading to some small Easter eggs and some things here. Shout outs to both Billy and Tommy. I thought they were great. The little kids who
Yeah.
were being it. I
Yeah,
thought
they
did
were
a
really
really
good.
good job. I thought Billy, the way that he was setting things up, like he was the one that actually saved Vision, not
Not
Wanda.
Wanda.
So I like that they're building up the powers of the two, and it was just like a simple, like Tommy's like, I can run fast now, and then it's
Yeah.
like the neighborhood watch is like all the candy's gone. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
And everyone's been silly stringed, and you could see Wanda going, oh god. So
And how
Actually,
ridiculous is
that's
that
just-
hair?
yeah,
That
yeah,
hair,
no.
like it just shows you, like when they designed those characters back in the '60s, like I'm gonna give him a cool hair flip.
Yeah.
That shit looks stupid.
But you know what? You guys brought up a very good point. I didn't even think about it. How is it that if Wanda was controlling everybody, how come she didn't know that where Vision was? And then her son, she's like, listen to daddy, where is he? So that could
she's
be-
distracted clearly because I think like it
'cause
requires
she's controlling
a lot.
too much.
Yeah,
She's
because
controlling too
again,
many
it
things?
shows the range of her powers is that she's doing Halloween and she's puppeteering all the people in that scope. And the farther you go out, the more people become zombies, and basically she can't control everyone. So they're
Yeah.
all basically just standing there waiting for.
Yeah.
as
Even
she
Quicksilver
moves.
was like, I'm the story element to come in and disrupt things, so she's not
Yeah.
fully controlling it. It
No,
seems.
and that was really funny. He did a great job.
Yeah,
I got
that
like
was-
Evan Peters was really good.
Yeah, like and Andre's point, like when you saw the bullets, you're like, ah, yes, you are dead. So it's like this is a
Right.
thing. So it's just a
Yep.
matter of this universe. Like again, maybe they pulled Vision from a universe where he's not part of the Avengers, and this is
Well,
this is
it
that
was
logic.
interesting though when they were tracking Vision. They said that the director's tracking and I don't remember
Vibranium.
Vibranium.
Yeah, but
The
it was
decaying vibranium.
decaying
Yeah.
vibranium. Yeah, so I mean that was really interesting. Anyways, I'm pretty. I just want more. Just give it to me. But like I want the answers. I'm done with my first course. I want the entree now. So
And here's the thing: we could all look forward to. Although John is not looking forward to Winter Soldier and the Falcon because he doesn't like it. He thinks it's boring. He also thinks the fighting's not very good. But that's he was poo-pooing on the fighting. Right, John?
he was a big fan of Iron Fist on Netflix. So
John
his
was like,
opinion doesn't count.
I could see the stunt double work. It doesn't look good. You know, like these guys don't fight very well. So we are going to force John to watch that show because, again, he's not really a big fan of both Sebastian Stan. He doesn't like the Winter Soldier or Falcon. So we'll see what happens. And that's soon. It's soon. Like, no matter how much we're begrudging this, we're not going to wait another year for the next Marvel show. Like, March 19th. Is immediate. So we're gonna get that.
Is it
show
literally the week after WandaVision is done? So it goes WandaVision one Friday and then Winter Soldier the next Friday.
Yeah, and in between those is Zack Snyder's Justice League.
and then Falcon Winter Soldier only like 6, and then there's a short break, and then Loki is whenever Loki comes out. So we have a lot of fun Marvel stuff to get to, and that's the thing. Rob,
7, 8. Yep, no, you're right. Yeah, I was just counting. Yeah. On the March 5th is the last, and then there's 1 week in between WandaVision and Falcon.
Oh, a 1 week break.
Yeah, 1 week break. It would have been March break, but in Ontario, no, it's not.
Yeah, it happened.
All right,
it would. It's the thing. But yeah, we have those shows to look forward to, and a lot of things are still being made right now. So we'll see, and more Marvel shows in the pipeline.
Yep.
So we'll see if they learn their lesson, because again, you're trying things out. I give them all the kudos in the world to make this, try it, but now you know that people are not happy, so you got your free pass. Go back to doing. You can do better. So as we discovered. So here we go. So as we move forward to the next topic, Andre, here we go. This is our segment as always. I've spoken with Andre. What is your recommendation of comic books or cool item or something from the store?
All right. So I am going to talk about one of the greatest and longest running miniature games out there. And I think it's very time appropriate because, a lot of people are at home. A lot of people need something to definitely take their mind off of the reality that is outside our door, where we're all trying our best for the stay-at-home orders around the world. People are trying. So my recommendation is Warhammer 40,000, which is a Games Workshop miniature game. It's been around for, I gotta say, close to 30 years probably. And the item I'm going to recommend, John's got a very cool Necron guy there. So I'm gonna recommend the starter set that just came out last May, I believe. They've got a brand new edition, and in this starter set, you're gonna get 20 models plus all the basic pamphlets and rules that you need in order to start learning the games. The 20 models that you're going to get some from the Necrons, which are kind of like a race of space Terminators. They're really cool skeleton-like. They've got really cool close combat weapons and really, really strong guns. And then the other side are, yes, there we go, John. Look at that guy, like very, very cool. And then the other side is the Space Marines, which are this poster child for Games Workshop Army. These are the armies of men, also known as the humanity's greatest soldiers, the Angels of Death. A great box, everything is push fit. So what that means is the models snap in together. You don't need any glue. You don't need any clippers and stuff. But if you get into the hobby, you're definitely gonna want those items, and you're ready to learn to paint. And the painting and building of these models is half the hobby. Even if you never get a chance to play, just getting creative with your hands, putting these models together, painting them. There's quick ways to paint them. A lot of, Games Workshop does a great job with all their paint technology and all their technical paint. So anybody of any skill level can really get into this hobby. And think of it, if you get into the game, think of it as a cross between like chess and a real-time strategy game. Very cool. There's in my opinion, no greater reward as a hobby, because you spend your money, you're going to build those models, you're going to paint those models, you're going to read up about those models, and hopefully you're going to be able to share it with maybe friend or family. But if not, there's a whole big online community out there of people that share their models, share their love for the game. Even for us, we've got a Facebook page that's called Heroes World Warhammers, and people can see what other people are doing. And we, before the pandemic, we're even playing in the store. So definitely you're going to want to check that out. For more information, you can always go to Games Workshop site. The game I'm recommending to you again is called Warhammer 40,000, and it's set in the far, far future. And again, great models. They make the best models in the industry, hands down. And there's so much variety and so much for you to choose from. But if you're looking for a place to start, look at the Recruit Edition, which is that starter that's going to give you 20 models, the book, and a little nice piece of terrain and a map to start playing.
And for those at home who are wondering why those figures in Warhammer look so familiar, is they're essentially the Tolkien Lord of the Rings OG when it comes to Space Marines. Whether it's StarCraft or everything since has basically lifted or liberated some of the ideas,
been heavily influenced by
the look of Space Marines, like Raynor and whatnot, from all these different things. They all kind of fit that mold based on Warhammer, just like how everyone has elves and dwarves and the orcs based on Tolkien. So it's one of those things where you're emulating what has worked very well in the past. So yeah, perfect. So thank you for sharing. Before we jump into our topic, we did talk a little bit about the Infinity Stones and the changes to them. So Andre, I just want to give you that heads up and ask you, for the people that are uninitiated. We do know that when the Marvel Universe MCU started, I think we both agree that I don't think that the Infinity Stones and the Thanos thing was something that they had in mind. It kind of just landed on their laps. And I don't think they really knew what they were doing, but it just kind of like, oh, they just did this idea. And then someone else like Rob came and it's like, what about the Infinity Stones? Have you heard about that? These things, maybe they're a big deal. And
it's like Lucky Charms. I like them. They look kind of neat.
and so they've kind of changed them in a way to suit, because again, watching Thor: The Dark World, you're like, really, the Reality Stone's red? Like, this is what it is. Like, it's not even a stone. It's kind of like an ether. Like, what if like it's all over the place? So can you, I guess, if you can remember off the top of your head, the colors of the OG compared to the new ones? Do you remember any of that off the top of your head? As I
not off the top of my head. I do think I remember that the Power Stone was red and the Soul Stone I think was green. Those were the ones that I remember the most. But you're absolutely right. There's no way when they started this journey that they had any idea that they were going to build to the Infinity Gauntlet. That probably came like after 4 or 5 movies came out or whatever, because they literally just took all the different relics and said that there was a stone inside. Like, the movie started with like the Tesseract or whatever, right? That was kind of like the first one, and then they did the Thor, the one in the Dark World and stuff like that, and then the Time Gem, which I think the Time Gem in Doctor Strange was the green one, right?
Yeah.
And the Mind was yellow. So they really messed up with all of the gems. But in a way, they did do kind of a creative job in order to say that that's where they were going. It was like, they called an audible at last minute or last second on the play, and then they just ran with it, right?
So just for reference, I did look it up. The Space Stone was purple, the Mind Stone was blue, the Soul Stone was green, Reality was yellow, the Time Stone was orange, and the Power Stone is red.
Yeah.
So as opposed to now, for all those people that know, the Space Stone is blue from Guardians, the Mind Stone is yellow, and that is basically Vision. The Reality Stone is red, the Power Stone is purple, the Time Stone is green, and the Soul Stone is orange. So they have now switched it to canon, I believe. Now on all the MCU 616, that's the color scheme, but it is, for those who are at home, it is different. Although Andre and myself always talk about it in previous podcasts alone. There's no way they would have known, but you got to give them kudos and credit for the fact that they pivoted and do the audible to make the billion-dollar franchise as it is. They really found a good way of looking over to Pokemon. Is like, how do we catch them all? How do we get this? And they have Pokemon-fied the Marvel MCU, where we're now watching WandaVision going, it's all connected. It's all actually a reality, as opposed to when they first started off, as we talked before, that Agents of Shield was connected. It's all connected, and it wasn't.
And it wasn't.
It
But you know
wasn't.
what? Speaking of the gotta catch 'em all, I'm going to throw out one other recommendation because it's just perfect. There's the current printing of the deluxe edition of the Infinity Gauntlet trade paperback, which includes the 2 prestige issues at the time story of the Thanos quest, and this is how Thanos goes about getting all the gems. Read this book. First of all, the Infinity Gauntlet's a great story anyways in comic form, but the best part of it, and this will get you to understand how great the character of Thanos is and how different he is from the movies. But man, if you read that part, those 2 books, I remember buying them when they first came out, just mind blown how well it was written, how multi-tiered like that Thanos was. Like, this guy, not only is he extremely strong, but he's strong, smart, sinister, like just devious, like just this guy is like literally Jim Starlin created this character and made literally like the most unbeatable character, but it was so believable in why, and yet there is a way to beat him. It's he beats himself. It's that hubris. So anyways, check this book out. The new printing, it came out a little while ago. We've got them at the shop, so let us know in the comments if you need a copy or whatever. But the new printing or deluxe edition of the Infinity Gauntlet, which includes the Thanos quest, and again, Jim Starlin and I think Ron Lim did the art.
I
that.
cannot
So,
recommend
fantastic.
that enough. That original trade, the original comics Thanos quest, is one of my prized possessions. I go back to it every once in a while to go, oh yeah, he is as powerful as you said, Andre, without the Omega beams, which are stupid. I think he's much more of an interesting character than the DC side of things, because that guy is lame. So this is but yeah, it's a great read. He getting those Infinity Stones, the process of him doing it, it's really interesting how he does it. He uses a whole bunch of different methods, and just not brute strength. He doesn't go and just beat the crap out of people. He uses his mind, uses his intelligence. He uses ways, because again, some stones are more powerful than others in terms of what their capacity, and especially for a user that's experienced with them, he's not. So he has to, like Mega Man. If you know the secrets of Mega Man, and you're like, oh, I need to have
You
to
know what
Woodman
order to
first,
get them in.
you get them ordered, and he knew how to do it, and it's an incredible read. So please, I recommend if you have someone who doesn't have that book, buy that trade for them for Valentine's Day as a gift, or for Chinese New Year. It's a super great read.
It's a romantic comedy.
Rob, have you read it?
Of course,
Rob?
Rob's read it.
I think I did way back in the day, but I don't have a copy of it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so it's time to Rob to get an updated copy. Okay, here we go. So just on that quick deluge on that. So we want to quickly highlight on our next topic, Batwoman, season 2, episode 1. As you know, a lot of people have known there's been a drastic change in the character because Amber Rose,
Ruby Rose.
Amber Rose would have been a different show.
Yeah, Amber Rose. Yeah.
Yo, that would have been a great pitch, dude. Like,
she had left the show based on a bunch of different issues. She wasn't really loved in the beginning, but at the end, she really got the appreciation of the fans, and she was kind of getting into a groove to some people's thoughts. So now they have changed the character because they'd like to continue the show, but it has changed. So we have all watched episode 1 to get our, to review it and see how the show is now, because I think we all watched the first episode of the first season 1, and now we're at season 2, episode 1. So we'll start off with John. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so episode 1 is called What Happened to Kate Kane.
Mhm.
And it basically introduces the new character Ryan Wilder, played
Mm.
by Javicia. I forgot what her last name
Leslie.
is. Javicia
Leslie.
Leslie. Yeah, which
Leslie.
yeah. So and introduces that character and kind of starts kind of starts a whole new show, but kind of not really. So I thought it was fine. It's getting slammed on the internet. It's your typical CW show. It's for fun. It's like casual. It has its share of cheesy kind of silly stuff, like no more silly than like Riverdale and some of the other shows that are hot right now. And I like this character. I like the Ryan Wilder character. And I think the only thing that I would kind of change is if you actually started from ground zero with this character, because they basically inherited the cast. And not to say that the problem is I never saw season 1. I guess Rob will be able to talk about season 1.
That's
My
his real
secret
name.
identity.
That's his real name.
Yeah.
That's
His
that's a really,
carryover.
hey, that's a really beautiful name. Why don't you use that one? You know?
Yeah, I like your other name better.
I like your other name better.
But yeah, like so I don't have anything from season 1 to bring over with me. So I would have liked kind of a whole new beginning, because there's a lot of characters going on. There's like characters that were affiliated with the Kate Kane character. There's I think there's a relative of Alfred Pennyworth in there. There's the Lucius Fox characters, his son or Luke Fox, and there's a lot of characters going on, and there's also a family associated with the Kate Kane Ruby Rose character. Even so, the main villain, which actually is pretty, like, she's pretty crazy. So I thought she was pretty cool. But yeah, overall, I like she's very charming, Javicia, and if you follow her on social media, she's really like embracing this role and trying her hardest to make it work. And I think it does show. She's practicing the stunt work and all that kind of stuff. So overall, I thought it was fine for what it was. It's not going to be Falcon Winter Soldier, because they don't have the budget, and it's not that mood or setting you would call it. It's more of like a fun show for and I don't know if we were going to talk about the Batmobile later, but yeah,
we're talking about the Batmobile. You're the car guy. Go straight into it. Go on.
Yeah. So she's well, in the character, there's the Hush character is in there, which it was kind of neat. Although his face just fell off at the end, which was kind of funny. I assume we're going to full spoilers. But he unearths a hidden Batmobile, which is a current gen Corvette, which was modded from, like, I don't know, like the tech department from the movie that was supposed to be Fast and the Furious but wasn't Fast and the Furious. Like it's really whack. It's got like this extra gigantic wing on it. It looks really ridiculous, and I feel that I don't know if people just want to have a superhero car, but I think they could have I would have went the opposite direction. I would have made it a muscle car, made it look a little bit more vintage, maybe given it a big hood scoop or something, so it looks like kind of like a semi undercover, but kind of a rough and tumble, like similar to what they're doing with the new Batman movie, where it looks like it's a juiced up home brewed car. So I don't know where they came from it. And if you look up this Corvette, you can make it look really nice, but for some reason they made it look as terrible as possible. So I feel bad for Corvette. If I'm assuming it's a product placement reasoning for that. Otherwise, you totally should have chose something vintage. So
John,
I don't know if it's
they
going
can't
to
choose vintage because the Supernatural cars are all gone now, because Jensen and both of them took the Supernatural cars with them.
They blew up all the Impalas.
yeah. As Andre and myself love that Supernatural car. You can't take that Impala anymore. It's no longer available. There was three cars.
But that's just the nitpick for me being a car guy. But I feel like they could have, like, little things like that would help break this CW mold that they have for some of these superhero shows, if they kind of.
So you're saying that they couldn't stick a Autobots or Decepticons logo on that vehicle to make it cool?
They might as well. It looked that outrageous.
Last thing before I jump to Rob, what are your thoughts on the costume? What did you think of that? Because it is the first time you've seen this.
I think the idea is that she just pops on the costume. I don't know the history of this costume, why it's invincible. I don't know if Rob can touch on that, or if one of you guys maybe knows why it's like some kind of a special, because everyone in the show seems to go like, I want that suit because it's some type of ultimate weapon. So I don't remember that much emphasis ever being placed on a Batman suit. So maybe that's going to be covered later. But It looked good on her, and I guess the idea is that she's just borrowing it right now, and she will, because we've seen promo images where the suit does look slightly different. So I guess it's going to get modified later on. So I thought it looked good. She moved good in it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. All right. Good thoughts. I loved. I was waiting for you to give us the thoughts on the car because again, it was. It's.
They could have went another direction. It was really bizarre. I'm surprised that someone in that whatever props department or whatever was like, this is good. Let's go.
They're probably not a car guy. That's it. He's a probably not a car person, or she's not a car person.
Yeah, but even Chevrolet as a sponsor should be like, hey, why'd you make our car look like
But there's also a
They
budgeting
could've-
issue.
Why did you make our
could've
car
modded
look
the
like
car.
exactly as it is?
budgeting issue, John.
the car looks outrageous. Like you'll see the car in I think Avengers. Black Widow drives a very similar model, and it's all blacked out, and it looks good. But for some reason, this one does not.
But didn't
look
we
at
also
all
see
good.
this terrible car like in Gotham, that TV show too? Is like basically just a regular car that Bruce Wayne was driving around. And you're like, oh yeah, Gotham, right? It's supposed to be old timey, but a modern car would be new to them because they were all driving ghetto cars, and then now like the Batmobile would look awesome because you put anything from 2019, 2018 in that show when everyone's driving old timey cars, it will look cool. But that's here or there. Rob, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so I watched the first maybe 5 or 6 of the first season with Ruby Rose. Listen, I watched Orange is the New Black on Netflix when she made an appearance in the later seasons. She was an okay actress. I didn't really buy her as Batwoman Kate Kane. It looked like she didn't really want to be there. I didn't really want her to be there. I thought that the overall idea of Batwoman with, as John said, you have this family dynamic with the Crows as this private police force in Gotham. I didn't care for it. I was kind of done with it. I gave up on the show. I couldn't give 2 shits. I've watched the first 3. They've only released 3 episodes of this second season because it was in hiatus last week because of the Super Bowl. I like Javicia Leslie in this role as Ryan Wilder. I think John's right. You're stepping into a role and you're inheriting all this extra baggage, and a lot of this extra baggage is what for me brings the show down. I don't give 2 shits about I don't give a crap about Dougray Scott and his role. I don't care about his daughter.
The Wolverine? Yo, man, why you gotta slam the
No,
Wolverine?
but and then with his stepdaughter who is the stepsister of Kate Kane, Mary, like as this underground doctor girl who's also a billionaire. Like, I'm just tired of it. I think the woman who plays Beth Kane, who's the crazy, I can't remember what her name. She's
Alice?
really good. Alice, yeah, she's really good. I really enjoy watching her. Like she's like not holding anything back. She's going like balls to the wall, crazy, and I quite enjoy that. The costume does get better. They make some alterations, as John mentioned. It comes up in the season, the end of the 3rd episode. I think it's really just some color changes as to why this costume is like a super. I don't know. I don't care. This is a show. Listen, I've said this way in the past. There's only so many hours in a day and in a week and in a month that I'm going to dedicate any amount of time to either television shows or video games or books or whatever the case may be. You have to be pretty high up there to be able to garner my attention on a weekly basis or whatever. I've watched these first 3 episodes. I don't care if I see the rest. Maybe it'd be one of those things I would binge watch if I literally had nothing else to do and I'm lying on the couch, potentially, drowning in my own saliva because I've been hungover. I maybe would put this on. I don't care if I see any more episodes of it, and this is not a condemnation of her as a star. I think she's great. I really enjoy watching her, but the rest of the show is just a pant load, and I don't give a shit. So I'm not watching anymore.
Ta-da!
Sorry. Listen, there's
Andre,
another
it's
CW
fine.
show coming up. Superman and Lois. That looks 100 times better in terms of production. So
I feel like it's
give
a very
me that.
different market, though. Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, no, but take this character and put her in something different. She's really good. I just don't want all this other ancillary crap. I don't give a shit. This whole Dougray Scott and all that, I don't care. It's dumb. It's a waste of a really good character and what potentially could be a really strong Batwoman.
I think there are going to be some issues with
You're screwing her over.
I think there's going to be some issues with Lois and Clark, or Clark and Superman, whatever.
Superman and Lois, maybe,
Superman
but-
and Lois. We're gonna get to some issues with that later on, because the elephant in the room is the elephant in the room. But we're gonna let Andre go give his thoughts on Batwoman.
All right, so Batwoman as the comic, when it came out, it was John, was it Greg Rucka
Yeah,
originally?
Greg Rucka. Yep.
Greg Rucka and J.H. Williams III, and he introduced this character in Detective Comics, and she took over for Batman for a while. And I got to tell you, it's one of the best graphic novels of the last 10 years. Not only is the art mega spectacular, groundbreaking, but the story and the character of Kate Kane in this iteration was, absolutely fantastic. A very traumatic story and upbringing that rivals the loss that Bruce Wayne suffers. I really loved the book. There's two books, Eulogy and I think the other one, Eulogy is the first one, and I think the second one's Hydrology. Fantastic. Great character. Even in the New 52, when she basically elevates herself to become almost on par with Batman gives her a team to kind of foster of these kind of sidekicks and stuff. She's a great character. Now, to the show, I was not interested in the first season at all. I don't have anything against Ruby Rose. I liked her in, John Wick. I liked her in small bit parts. She was in the Triple X, Return of Xander Cage. I think she really fits that, like,
Support
super
character.
side character.
Yeah.
I don't think she's charismatic enough or strong enough to carry anything. And I really love the original character of Batwoman and how she was written. So lo and behold, she leaves, and now the show must continue, and they have to go a totally different route. And I think this is super hard to pull off. So not only are you got this controversy and this person stepping down, and you really need to jump in and fill the gaps, but you also have all that other storyline that you have to do. John said it best. This is a CW show, so again, people I think need to temper their expectations. I watched the first episode, and I have to say, like, what they have done, while I was not on board with everything, I thought they did a decent job. I looked at it as I looked at Arrow. Once you watch the first episode of Arrow, this is not the Oliver Queen of comics. This is a different story. But what I really appreciated in this first episode was they were able to flesh out an actual backstory that was believable and made me care for this new character. Okay, we knew we were jumping in. I knew who Luke, they called him Lil Fox, so I was able to figure out, yep, that's Lucius Fox's son. I didn't know who the character of was her name Mary? Didn't know who that was. Liked seeing Doug Ray Scott in there. And if you know the character, well, Rob, I don't think you've read the books. Her father is a strong figure in the comics, and I thought he did a really good job. Again, I didn't watch the previous season, so I don't know if his acting or whatever was poor or not, but it was believable to me in this moment to see a father grieving. And then once Alice and him talked, and they got into the whole plan of her wanting her father to kill the surviving daughter, I'm like, yo, this is as twisted as that comic. So I really liked it. Loved the speech that Batwoman gives when she has the costume, and she's like, I'm just a number, and this is the number that's going to break me. I'm out for justice. I'm like, they hit certain notes that I enjoyed and was not expecting them to hit those notes. So I'm almost interested in going back and seeing what the other season was to build up these characters, but I'm almost at the same time, I almost like the fact that, hey, I can just watch them from this point going forward and seeing how they interact with this new Batwoman. And I really liked the Lucius Fox, his son. I thought the actor was decent and stuff. I think this show is again, for me, it was very watchable. And I'm gonna straight out say I enjoyed this episode way better than the 3 first episodes of WandaVision. and they're not even doing it as a tenth of the budget, and they don't even have all of that background stuff to just hope the audience has to pull. Like, they had to put that stuff in there, and they've got to hope the audience is along for the ride. It is definitely, I think, a different audience than the current MCU audience, but if you look at what they were doing and the characters that they put in, I was interested to learn more. Like the was it Alfred's daughter or niece?
Mhm.
Again, I'm like, hey, I don't know who
Julia.
that character is. She's not in the comic books, don't know her, but again, pretty interesting. Then they almost had like I don't know. Again, didn't the her name was Sophie, and she looked like she was some type of agent or cop or whatever. Again, there's drama, there's tension in there, and stuff, and I liked that these characters each kind of had a little bit of a moment to shine, where Sophie's like, hey, we're gonna find her together, and she hands the
Yep.
flashlight to Doug Ray Scott, who's Kane's father. In this plane crash, we're gonna find her, and then Alfred's niece, she's smart enough to test that new Bruce Wayne, who's Hush. Again, I didn't necessarily want to see Hush in this because I think he's a great character, and I think you really need Hush in a Batman thing. But I guess
Or at least keep him around longer. It's kind of funny that he was like a one episode disposed.
well, we don't know, but again, to me, I think it was cool, like especially that last scene where she just goes to town. Like, I really like that, because I'm like, hey, they mentioned that she's a trained martial artist in her parole meeting, or not parole, what do you call it, her parole officer? I can't get her.
parole
So I'm like,
Yeah,
hey,
she's
okay,
cool.
it's kind of believable. And then when she fights the first couple of times, she messes up with the gadgets and stuff. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But then when she fights the guy who's Bruce Wayne is Hush, he clearly has no training. She whoops his ass, and she just goes to town on him, just beats him. I'm like, yo, I can see that level
Till
of
his face falls
violence
off.
and intensity, that this is an angry person who she's had a raw deal, and this dude just tried to kill her. So I like those moments, and I do think that given the chance, this show could build into something. But of course, there was some missteps, like the car. Ooh, pretty awful. Some of the dialogue, again, not the greatest.
Yeah.
But you know, seeing that the internet trashed this show,
It's hard, Andre. But to your
I don't
point,
see it. I think, but again, I think if somebody stepped in and they somehow could get more of a budget or whatever, and they could build their own,
I think season 3
allowed
has
to
been
build
announced.
their
Andre,
It's
own.
been confirmed. Yeah.
all they have to do is get rid of the tie it to what happened in the first season, and get rid of some of those ancillary actors or whatever, and I think you'd be fine.
But-
I think
but I
there's
think-
just too much. There's too much dragging it down to make it the
I would-
show that it, because I really like her as Batwoman.
But
as
I
Ryan
don't know.
Wilder.
Well, so we clearly disagree about it. But I liked watching this, and I loved how they tied in Alice to
Yes.
what Batwoman's new vengeance is going to be. She needs to get revenge on that. So, and
Yeah.
she, like you said,
I
she's
like
a
her
great
as well.
actress. So
Yeah.
you don't want to diss that baggage, right? And then also the maybe the Sophie character is going to be written out because she was a love interest for Kate Kane. But again, I don't mind it. Like, hey, finish off that story and go forth. But I do like that there was, at least it felt like there was more backstory and side story that I could chew on, and if I wanted to go forward, or they will, or go backwards, or they'll bring it forward and tie it together. Like I said, I just find these characters like interesting. They felt like they had multiple dimensions, and I'll compare it again. Not that I'm saying that the shows are, but again, you look at WandaVision, and you literally have no character from the TV show that you know anything about their previous lives or anything, because of the story. But then the only characters that have these backstories are tied to other characters that we have seen in the movies. So we get Jimmy Woo, about him from 2 Ant-Man movies. You get Kat Denning, who from, is it two or three Thor movies? 2 Thor movies and
movies,
something
yeah.
else. So these are characters that have already been developed somewhere else and are now in this WandaVision show. Batwoman doesn't have that, so they have to build up these characters. So like I said, first episode, I would definitely watch the second 2 and 3. I don't know if I would go back and watch all of the other season, but I do I do like what I saw so far. And if it can be like some of those other CW shows, like Flash really got better couple seasons in going forward. What are you talking about? Flash, the
Dude,
first
the
couple.
first season is the best of the Flash. The Flash. That first season, costume, the burgundy blazer, I wasn't a big fan of, as I refer to him.
It definitely.
But season one was the best season that they ever produced.
I don't know. I own them. I think it was like season 2, season 3, like where you get to know the characters and stuff like that. And the other characters didn't feel like such tropes and stereotypes. Like I felt, especially in Flash. Sorry to digress, but I felt what was her name? His sister in like she felt just so flat and like contrived. And I think she really
Iris?
became Iris. I think she really became 3-dimensional later on, like in season 2 and 3.
Sure, but the actual storyline.
Okay, maybe the story. Definitely the story.
Because Zoom was way better in season 1 than everything else has basically been like.
Well,
how many cast people can you fight?
But I liked seeing the progression of the show. Anyways, I think Flash definitely progressed, in my opinion. I think Arrow progressed. So I think if this show gets a little bit of a footing and can get things, but it definitely should. You can see the budget cuts or that the budget isn't there. But again, let's just not judge it on that.
I think, Andre, to your point, like here's the thing: I think it's collectively we can all agree on is that Marvel, for these Disney Plus shows, they're not forced to go 42 minutes. So there are no constraints. They can do whatever they want. And our biggest gripe is that why aren't they doing more with what they got? And for Batwoman is that this show has to be 42 minutes. And to cram in all they had to cram in 42 minutes, and they had no choice to fix in the gaps, to explain the storylines. You have to applaud them for fitting in that box and doing the best they could. And probably not I don't think they had that much notice really for them to make these adjustments midway, because correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't that far out that she said I'm not coming back. So kudos to them for the adjustments and everything, the audibles they had to do with such a time frame. They probably had the story arc for the season written, and now they had to start from scratch. So and adding these characters and relationships, to Rob's point, you want to try to get rid of people, but these are their jobs. Like, you don't want to fire a person as well. You want to try to get them in. It's like, oh, by the way, one person quit, you're out of a job. It's like that kind of is not a good situation either. So whether they want to leave the show on their own is one thing, but to fire a person because another person, the lead, has left, is not really a great thing either. So you applaud them for what they've done. We'll continue to see what happens as the show carries forward. With there only 3 in, we'll see. I think you got to give time for her to grow, and maybe they can fix the vehicle. Maybe this is the ghetto vehicle that they blow up halfway and they get the better vehicle. Like, maybe that's the thing. So, and to Hush, I agree, Andre. You don't want them to use it, but really, there's no other Batman show for them to use him in. Like, they're never going to do a Batman TV show, so you might as well get used to them using all the Batman people in these shows, because as we discovered in Gotham, it's not really cool for Batman to beat up on old men, because Batman is 12 or 18, and every villain he knows is basically, if you think about it, by the time he's grown
the
up,
legend says.
I'm like, Andre, if you're 21 and you're fighting 50-year-olds, how strong are you really as a superhero? It's like all these guys are like in their mid 30s, all the villains in Gotham, man. And by the time Batman's like gotten bigger and gone and fought and learned all these martial arts, he's basically beating up old men. So Batman's not really that interesting.
You make a really good point, and maybe it's you have to use it as a discussion for a whole other podcast just on it. But why do they continually put Batman in these TV shows or allude to Batman and never do another Batman TV show? Put money aside,
more lucrative to
movies make money,
film
franchise.
I hear you, but it doesn't mean that you cannot still do a film. Like, you have different, like again, the Arrow show started off, he was basically Batman, right? You've got Batman and Teen Titans, and you're doing Nightwing. They had the Gotham TV show. I couldn't get into that at all, but
they tried to cast Jensen Ackles as Batman in Smallville, but they couldn't use it, so they called him Adam Knight, because they're like, oh, this will be the character, but we can't use Batman or Bruce Wayne. So
I wonder why that is. I wonder why there's this thing of saying we can't use him. I think maybe that might be a topic
that was Jensen Ackles, though. No, sorry. That's an aside from Smallville. I don't
Jensen
think that
Ackles
guy
was fine. Like Andre and both me love him as the Red Hood.
No,
Yeah,
I
he was
don't.
great.
I don't think he was that Knight character. I think it was actually a different actor.
Oh, another character. Oh, well, who is
Yeah.
he? Well, anyways, yeah. But someone was Adam Knight as a character. Okay. Yeah, no, that is are you gonna Google that, John, or shall I to double check?
I can
Because,
Google it.
if you-
I don't think people really need to know that.
I think we need to
No, we don't. Trailer dropped. It looks great, by the way, for those who are listening real time.
Trailer of what?
Snyder's Justice League. There's no
Yeah,
Leonard Cohen.
I'll do a
and it's
reenactment.
all in-
Now I've
it's
heard
all
there
in-
was a secret
No.
chord.
YouTube will
that
pull us off if
David
you're.
played.
No, there's no Leonard Cohen. It's all in color. The trailer looks great. We'll talk about it more.
Ian-
Ian Stone Mal.
Oh yeah, the guy from
different guy.
Lost and and Vampire
Yeah, Lost,
Diaries.
yeah.
Lost and Vampire Diaries. Okay, got it. That's the right one. Okay, thank you for the correction. Yeah, Adam Knight too. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that guy. And Vampire Diaries. Okay,
He was cool for a second.
yeah, he had his moment. It's good to know that Rob was paying attention to us in this podcast and not deviating. And
No,
watching
he
other
couldn't
shows.
resist. He couldn't resist.
Just there's no patience in him, but we're just gonna cut him off as we slowly go on this podcast. Okay.
Jensen Ackles made Jason Teague
Oh boy, yeah.
in
That's
season 4 of Smallville.
so many
Just for
seasons.
the fun of it.
Yeah, you lose track of what happens in Smallville. There's so many things that happen. Okay. So we're gonna quickly jump along. John posted it in our private chat in midweek. The fact
Did I?
that Keanu Reeves potentially was approached, or he had signed on to be Kraven in the Spider-Man movie. We had since lots of rumors jumping back and forth. One of the
Kraven in a Kraven standalone
Yeah.
movie, not Kraven in a Spider-Man movie. Two different
Kraven,
things.
yes.
Yeah.
Kraven in the standalone movie and the Sony MCU. So there was
described
a thing.
as Man on Fire meets Logan.
Yeah.
So there was that thing, and then the other reports from some people, and I'll sort it from Diz Insider. Skylar Schuler was saying that he was told that Keanu Reeves was approached by Kraven, but passed months ago. So John in our chat mentioned, hey, this is a career killer. Keanu can't do this. I was like, okay. So I wanted to ask everyone, including this panel, because John's so strong on it. Can an actor do a non-super like Marvel movie, a superhero movie, and can that be a career killer? And John, why do you hate Keanu Reeves?
I don't. I was just pouring water on the hype fire. But I question Keanu Reeves playing a villain. He has played a villain type character in I don't know if you guys saw Man of Tai Chi.
I like that one.
He was the main bad guy, and
Yep.
he actually directed the movie.
He was good.
And even in Always Be My Maybe, he was kind of a semi-villainous character trying to steal the girl and being like
he was
really
Keanu
out
Reeves in
there.
that.
But he was just
And
Keanu
then
Reeves in
even-
that one.
Yeah, and even one of my favorite movies, Street Kings, he kind of plays a cop that's kind of like borders the line of renegade and stuff like that. So is it the time for Keanu to play a villain and kind of flip his career, especially in a Marvel or DC superhero thing? Like you don't think that would be a bad move?
No.
No.
Listen, you're talking about a guy who literally can do no wrong. Everybody loves Keanu Reeves. He was in SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Like this guy will be in anything, not like Nicolas Cage, like I need the money and being in anything. He's like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that for you. I'll do this. Like,
but as a villain, the rumor
villain,
is Kevin
no.
Feige asked him for every project how they can involve Keanu.
no, and
So
but
it's
you know,
you're gonna
and
bring
he's
him
like,
in as a
no,
villain?
he doesn't have to. You know what? I think I would actually be happy if he never appears in any Marvel DC property, because I think the notion of us years from now saying, man, could you imagine if Keanu was this character? Like that is a lot more fun, because there's just such an aura around Keanu Reeves as the person, as an actor. To fan cast him is way more fun than actually having him appear. So at this point, he's in his 50s. Oh, it's time for John to go. He's in his 50s. I'm quite
Keanu
happy.
calling. That's Keanu
It's
calling.
Keanu.
Yeah. Like, John, why?
I was like, what
why
are you doing?
To be fair, Keanu might need to do a Marvel movie after this Matrix movie comes out. It might be really bad that he's like,
You know what? These guys got more money than he needs to. Like, he's so. Anyways, he doesn't.
Sorry,
I don't think he needs to. He doesn't need to be in anything. I think, he's in his 50s. He's 51, 52. We talked
Looks
about
good.
this before. Yeah, he does. But you got to think these projects aren't going to be getting off the ground until he's close to being 55. You know, you get into that Liam Neeson, territory where it's like, you're really kicking ass and you're in your
Liam
late
Neeson had a
60s?
hell of a run as that
He-
guy.
Super
though.
run. The
Yeah,
best
but they were
run.
And I
all
think he's just retiring
condensed.
now from it.
Yeah, but they were all condensed. All those 10 movies that he made, they were all like within like 7 years. So you're like, okay, like he still looks the same.
Yeah.
That's not the way Marvel works. They're not releasing those 10 movies with
I
Keanu
think-
and 10.
Andre,
I think,
go for it.
though,
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
kinda
Andre, didn't you
draws-
cast him as Silver Surfer in one of your fan casts?
Yeah, that's the role he takes. If there's a role, he's that guy. I'd love to see him as Norrin Rad before he becomes the Surfer,
Mhm.
and then I think you CG him up, and then you can have years of him
Mhm.
doing the part via voices. But I think what John was getting at, and I agree, I would not touch a Sony superhero movie in the Spider-Man universe without seeing something other than Venom. A lot of people like Venom. I thought that movie was garbage, right? Like nowhere close to being anywhere near what Venom is.
We got Mobius.
Yeah, and now there's Morbius coming out. So again, you've got to see what that is. And there's all these talks of a Silver Sable movie, a Black Cat movie.
I think they
Listen,
canceled that.
I would not
yeah.
want to be associated with a Sony thing. Now, if they wanted to say, hey, will you play a character in a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie that's co-produced by Marvel? Possibly, but at the same time, again, I think he holds out to get the character he wants to play in Marvel. As for it being career suicide, some of these movies are super, like these Sony movies have been super awful. And like I said, at this point in his career, he's picking movies that he wants to do.
Mhm.
And like I said, he's doing that Matrix movie because those are his friends. Whether it's good or not, it's going to make some money. And he's doing it because it's a story that he believes in. It's a project he believes in, and stuff like that. So he gets a choice. I think people are just maybe said, oh, let's get him as Kraven because of John Wick 3 when he was Russian and he had the stringy hair. But other than that, I actually think he's a bad choice to play Kraven, right?
Mhm.
And also, Kraven is a type of character that he's not
Just
a
be imposing.
he's not only is he being
not
imposing,
guns, is
he's
he?
not a solo story character.
Yeah.
He's a villain that is so I truly believe, like we talked about that story last week, the Kraven's Last Hunt. Every other story of Kraven is just that typical story of the Uber hunter, tired of hunting game, and he hunts man. Well, the greatest man to hunt is Spider-Man in his opinion. So if you can't do that story, like I'm not saying I don't care about Kraven and other things, but he's good as a Spider-Man, villain. Any other hero wipes the clock. Like Wolverine could just accidentally gut this guy just who the hell, and just done. You know what I mean? Captain America wouldn't even need to throw his shield at him. So he's a non-issue, but it works when you write that story. Not saying it'd be impossible to write a good Kraven story, but I think it's almost impossible to get us to care anything about this character enough to watch a solo movie about him. But I said the same thing about Morbius. I'll say the same thing about Morbius, and that movie's getting made and it's got people in it. So
well, listen, I think just to counter John about career, listen, the movie could be shit, but nobody will ever lay that on the feet of Keanu Reeves. For whatever reason, he is like the Teflon Don. The movie may not do very well. It's everybody else's fault, but he's always left outside of that, out of the talk about how bad a movie is or isn't. He's just
I disagree. He did that movie. I liked it. Was it the 13th Samurai or whatever?
The last
47
Seven Ronin, 47 Ronin.
47 Ronin.
Yeah. People don't even talk about that.
It's a great movie.
I liked it. I wouldn't say it's great. I liked it, but
it's fun. But what I'm saying is nobody lays it on him. They don't say, "Oh, you shit the bed with this." Like people look at what was it, the one with Matt Damon, The Great Wall or whatever it was. People are like, "Man, Matt Damon, you're like a piece of shit. What the hell were you doing in this?" Nobody ever does that with Keanu. That's just the reality.
Well, I think that's a different story. That was that Candace Wu starting the back talk on that movie. I like The Great Wall too. I thought it was a cool movie.
Yeah,
The thing I liked about The Great Wall, just to start to
we
think,
got
'cause
Andre. We got let's just keep on going. Like,
Okay.
we'll get to the
it's a
Great Wall debate
conversation,
later.
Stu. Let me talk. We're just conversing. We're just conversing.
No, I get too much. We
Well, Stu, you're okay with it, Stu? Like, you wouldn't
you-
rather see him play like Punisher, which is basically his John Wick?
No,
or
I think
Ghost
Andre
Rider?
makes the right case. It at this point in Keanu Reeves, what does he want to do? Green screen. Just do what he did in another Alien movie that he's done already. It's like, come in, be this alien. What was the remake? The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yep.
Yeah, he did that already, and he can do Norman Rad, and it's more suited for it's Silver Surfer is just an interesting character. He's metaphysical, he's methodical, like he's just a cool person that surfing across the cosmos, interacting with people, helping people, having causes. Like he's just, like the last run was basically
sounds like a surfer.
He
Come on,
basically it became Doctor Who in the
You can
last
play the
run of
surfer.
Silver Surfer, and he basically took someone with him. It's like, okay, I'll go around the world saving different universes, saving problems. Like he is what Keanu Reeves is, kind of the same aura as Bill Murray. Bill Murray walks into a bar, can do no wrong. Keanu is the exact same way. There are videos of Keanu giving up his seat on the subway. There's the
Right.
video on Cyberpunk. He's like, "You're beautiful." And Keanu goes, "No, you're beautiful." And everyone melted. They were like, "Oh my God, Keanu, you're so amazing." Like the stories
Except for John. John's like, I don't believe this
and
guy.
the stories of him, like, oh, for the Matrix, he gave all his money away. Rob is right. He has money, but he made sure that everyone had equal equity in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Everything he does is like, I want to build motorcycles because I like motorcycles, and I'm going to make this company. Like he just is
there's a
guy.
video of someone hitting his motorcycle, and he's like, "Whatever, don't worry about it."
Yeah. Okay.
Like there's so many videos of him just like, I'll help you. I got you. Like there's videos of like him
when
like,
the bus broke down and he called in another bus agent, took everybody, he paid for their hotel for the night. Like,
was like-
it's just how much you can do no wrong. So
like honestly, John,
you're
like I get
incorrect.
you don't like you're jealous of him, but like you just come on, like why like let's put on the record, Andre, Rob, myself love Keanu, can do no wrong. John, not a fan and doesn't understand the hype train. Just drop at Keanu, gonna bring him down a peg, gonna drop him down. So that's what we want to say on this podcast, and we'll carry on.
Yep.
He probably thought that a few of Keanu's movies were overrated as well, where there was a movie with a certain Patrick Swayze, and he's like, you know what, that movie sucks. That's what John's trying to say. Point Break was not good. That's what John is trying to tell us right now. That's what he's doing. So
John, he was an FBI agent.
yeah, exactly.
I eat my chicken, no skin.
All right, we got time, and we don't have that much time, so I want to jump to the last topic. Andre, we will get to that. Your thoughts on that another day. But Pedro Pascal, Andre's favorite Mandalorian, has been cast in as Joel in the Last of Us HBO series based on the popular video game. We don't know whether it's going to continue on both season 1, season 2, or video game 1, video game 2. Who knows? But nonetheless, he has been cast as the hardened survivor, Joel, who was hired to smuggle Ellie from, of course, as people have recognized Game of Thrones, Bella Ramsey, who was the breakout star, Lady Mormont.
Yeah, she was the for people who don't know, she was the young queen of that that house. The really
after
young
her
girl.
mom got
She was
killed
12.
in the wedding of Red. So or
Yeah.
so she has been cast as Ellie, and it's basically a story of a 14-year-old girl. They're trying to get out of a zombie quarantine zone, and deadline is that this is what's going on. So we don't know how long the show is or how many episodes or if it's going to follow the video game correctly, but the groundwork is there. Deadline also reports that The Last of Us has put Pedro Pascal in first position. So those who don't know what first position means is basically the project gets priority in case of any scheduling conflicts. So if anything else he does, there's a kind of conflict, he has to stop doing that and jump on to do Last of Us. So that may interfere with a Mandalorian, but frankly, he's wearing a helmet, so who cares? Thoughts, John, on this?
I'm actually not familiar with this Last of Us series at all, so I actually would give my time to you, Stu. I think people would rather hear from your thoughts on it.
I will get to that at the end. Rob?
Yeah, so I've said that on this show before. I'm a big fan of these series. Naughty Dog does a great job. I know there's a lot of hate on for The Last of Us Part 2. I actually quite enjoyed it. So when it comes to the casting of this, I got to admit I was not seeing. I never thought of Pedro Pascal in this role of Joel. I don't really know. Sometimes when you get into fan casting, you can get disappointed. There was a story, and that was a really interesting day. It was Wednesday of this past week, because news broke that Mahershala Ali was actually it was offered to him in the role of Joel, which is obviously, changing the character. And I was like, this is, I quite enjoyed Mahershala Ali in True Detective season 3. So I was like, really Jones to see what would happen. And then they cast the news of this Bella Ramsey as Ellie. And in that of itself, I never thought of her in that, and because we only know her from 2 seasons of Game of Thrones and maybe a handful of episodes in those seasons. So how I feel about her is okay, sure, whatever. And then Mahershala Ali.
She was also in the Netflix show Worst Witch. So
sure,
let's
okay.
throw that in there.
So he had bowed out. Apparently, said no, I don't want to circle the project anymore. And then Pedro had stepped in and was given. So I'm cool with it. I want to, I do want to see. I do get a little bit of concern that it could be very Mandalorian-like, because they're both on this journey from one point to another, and he has essentially. If you've been a fan of the first game, he's got to escort Ellie from one place to somewhere else to deliver her, which is very much like the Mandalorian with Baby Yoda or Grogu, from one to the other. So there's a lot of interesting parallels there. And sometimes I wonder if it will be too much of a distraction of people saying this is the same shit you've done, before. But, I'm all for it. I want to see this. They're moving ahead. I'm excited for this show. I think HBO is the right avenue to be doing this show, and so I'm all for it.
Andre, your thoughts?
So let me start with a question here. Because I don't know, like aside from Mandalorian and Wonder Woman, what else has Pedro Pascal done?
Narcos.
Narcos. Yeah, I saw him a little bit in that. Yeah. Anything else?
Oh God, yeah.
He did that We Are Heroes thing or something.
Yeah,
like
the Robert Rodriguez film We Are Heroes.
Okay. So my issue is, and Rob
he was in Game of Thrones as well.
He was a Red Viper. That little thing in Game of Thrones. That's where he was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was in all the bit casting, kind of like John Hamm. He was waiting for his big role, and Game of Thrones came in, and then boom, that's what put him on the map.
Okay. So Rob's thing hits me perfectly. It's like, does this guy even get considered if there's no Mandalorian? Because it's for him to play that part, like hello typecast, it is essentially the optics are it's the same movie. Now, I personally don't think his acting doesn't do anything for me. Like if I was going to judge him by Mandalorian, well, we don't see him act at all, period, and stop. If I was going to judge him from what I know him from, I only watched a bit of Narcos or whatever. But then if I was going to judge him from Wonder Woman 84, I'm like, hell to the no, right? Like, so I don't.
Game of Thrones was great. He was really good in Game of Thrones.
Aside from his super popularity right now because of Mandalorian, I think this is that choice. You're like, hey, let's put the star of the Mandalorian in this and get this. Could this series be successful without him as an actor? Hell yeah, they could literally put a no name in this, because the game has already got such a following, and zombies are still popular. And even though it's not technically zombies are in this game or whatever, and there's a lot of buzz and talk about about the game. So while I will say I'm not excited for him to portray it, but I just don't know if he's the right choice. Now, maybe this will be his time to shine. He'd be like, I'm going to take this role. I don't have to wear a hat. I can really get into it. But if anybody's played the game, Joel is the same hard ass, no emotion dude until the last 20 minutes of the game. Of the first game. So again, I see it as he's going to be playing the same dude. He's transporting a package who happens to be a little girl, and he's broken because his little girl died at the beginning of the game, right?
Spoilers. No.
Well, the game's had a sequel, so there's no. So again, he's gonna play it this. He's gonna play it this. The same way. I would almost be more interested if they've somehow just set a show in the universe of The Last of Us, because I think in that game there's so much unsaid that we do not know about the transition of the world, what causes the virus that did it, how humanity survives. And I think those are, you can do a lot of heartfelt stories and really, you know, have a time to either showcase the greatness of humanity or the bleakness of what would happen and stuff. I played the first game and it was cool, but it didn't intrigue me enough. There wasn't enough there for me to play the second game. Yeah,
Wow.
when that game first came out, I bought it, and then after I finished it, we instantly sold it at the store because it sold out everywhere. I think it's a cool game, but I think it is probably like, as a game collector and person that likes to keep stuff, it just wasn't good enough for me to keep in my collection.
Well, I love The Last of Us #1. The story, it was just phenomenal. So I think the biggest hurdle that this series is going to have is winning over people like me, maybe even people like who has played the game, who has an idea about it. I think it needs, and that's where I understand the casting of Pedro Pascal, because he is somewhat known. He's not a big name. He's not a Keanu Reeves, but he is somewhat known, and he is palatable for people who will tune into the show because there's buzz he brings to it. The name Last of Us brings a certain amount of buzz. Pedro Pascal's name brings to it a certain amount of buzz. It will get eyes on that first episode, and the hope is obviously his performance will allow people to continue watching who have no knowledge of the game or very little knowledge.
And we don't know how long the show is going to go for, because spoiler alerts, you know, characters throughout the show or the game die.
Don't last very long.
Don't last very long because it's zombies, just like The Walking Dead. Like, again, it could carry on and it doesn't have to be, it's not a forever gig. But to Andre's point, you know, hey, you know, this is what Hollywood's about. It's the hot actor. It was George Clooney after a few years in ER. It was Bruce Willis in Remington Steel. No, that was not Bruce. That was
Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan was in Remington Steel, and then all of a sudden it's like, we'll be
Moonlighting
with Bruce Willis. So like all it takes is like one person on TV, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, we could put this guy in here, and have Tom Selleck for a while when he was in Magnum PI, and then he was considered to be Indiana Jones. You know, so these are the things that happen when you just have to be at the right place at the right time, and then you get a gig. And it's about whether you can maintain the trajectory going forward or you fall downwards. So it is, you know, a lot of it's about opportunity, and some people take bad movies or collect them paychecks like Halle Berry. So as John and Rob has discussed before, sometimes you win an Oscar and you got to kick the checks. You just got to get paid.
Sometimes you win an Oscar and a Razzie at the same year.
Yeah. So this is what it's all about. But, you know, in terms of Last of Us, it's a property that, you know, to Rob's point, it's, you know, it's polarized as of number 2. There's a lot of people that love it and a lot of people that don't hate it. And if you make a wrong opinion with Last of Us 2, things could go very interesting out there. I think it was a good game. Like, it's fine. Last of Us 1 and Last of Us 2 is a fun experience. You go through it, and then it's no different than Walking Dead and all the other stuff. And so it is just a world where the reality is there and people are sad, and you go through it.
How cool would it be to see a bearded Jensen Ackles playing Joel?
No, not at all. Get out of here. I'd rather have Keanu Reeves.
What?
I'd rather have Keanu Reeves as Joel than have Jensen Ackles.
Here's the thing.
No, you didn't watch Supernatural, dude. Dean could play that damaged dude, man.
Yeah, but I think
don't be dissing my Jensen.
No. Andre, I love. But here's the thing. Jensen Ackles been doing that for like 6 years now, so he needs to break. Like, I want to see him. You know, when I see him in The Boys, it's going to be just a different person. I think he just needs a few.
Yeah, but they didn't take a break. Look at Jared Padalecki's playing Texas Ranger.
But that's a different character.
Obviously, he's got spending issues. That guy's jumping from one series to the next.
No, exactly. But that's what I'm saying.
He's also filming in Texas and Austin, where he lives. So it's like a very
I get it. I'm just saying. I would, since we brought him up earlier, like I would give him a chance because Dean Winchester is.
But here's the thing, like maybe Jensen's like, I want to do something more than this. Like, I want to do a comedy. I want to do something different. I want to do movies.
True
like,
that.
He just also has a bunch of young kids. Is like, I just did a TV series for how many years, Andre? Like, I just need a break. Like, take some time off, man. Like, this is not everyone needs to do it all the time. Like, yes, could he do it? Yes. Could he do a great job? Of course. But, you know, at the same time, as he has like couple kids back there and a wife, and he's got to sort things out. Like, you only get limited time with the little kids that you have in your life, and then they get up and then they become the age of teenagers like Rob's kid. It's like, yeah, whatever, I don't care, I'm busy playing Fortnite. So whatever
Yeah.
pops, and then you
I know.
carry on. That's when you
I'm a
do
few
another
years away from hearing the bong in the background as, as he's gaming Fortnite. Season
that's
800.
that's when you start doing TV shows again, Andre, as a parent. When your kids are like, yeah, I don't care about you. It's like, okay, now back to TV shows when they no longer want to hug me anymore and tell me I'm
Right.
awesome. So
Yeah.
Jensen Ackles got to take that time. So okay, so as we wrap up, I think it's for Pedro Pascal, this is what everyone said he wanted. It's like, you're on the screen, it's your face all the time, you could do what you want, and there's not a problem between him and the Mandalorian because he can just record in his trailer and muffle
He's
his
kind
voice
of an
a bit,
unknown, I guess.
and like, this
It's
is the
almost
way.
like he's kind of an unknown.
It's fine. Like, he can do the show, and the Mandalorian, they can film him. He only has to show up for like a day. He'll probably have the same scruffy facial hair that he'll have, and because he likes the kind of the chin beard and the face, like he kind of likes the scruff. And for Mandalorian, he's allowed to do it, and probably for Last of Us, he could do it too. So they're not going to ask him to shave. So we'll see. Like, I think he has an opportunity to do something different. And let's be clear, Andre, like, this show is not forever for him. It's like, it could be 2 seasons,
Could
3
be one
seasons.
season, yeah.
Could be one season in Game of Thrones. He'd be like, and I'm out. Like, so it could be done we don't know. Did they say it was a limited series, or because again?
No, they didn't say. Listen,
I don't know if they'll
you could
deviate
follow
from
the
the book.
trajectory of the show. You could be like Game of Thrones and do 4 or 5 seasons that are kind of tied to the books, and then they go off on their own. So who knows?
Yeah,
4 to 5 seasons out of the
Woo.
first game.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's
Good
that's
luck.
yeah, it's a lot. Okay, so
There was a movie called The Road, and they did it in 2 hours.
Yeah. That was with Viggo Mortensen, right?
Yep.
So yeah, with there we go. Okay, so here we go, and that was a dark movie. Oh man. All right. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna jump back where Keanu, I love you. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. There we go, on Valentine's Day. All right, so
Day.
we're gonna finish it off on a high note. Where, John and Andre, can people find you guys on the internets?
Yeah, so most active are social media, the Instagram and Facebook, Heroes World Online. If you're following us on the YouTube, Heroes World Online as well, please give us a subscribe, hit like, get at us in the comments. We'd like to get back with you guys. And then if you're trying to contact the store, message via any method is easier for you. You can email us at sales.heroesworld@gmail.com, or through the Facebook, the Instagram, the Google, the Yelp, whatever you want to do, we'll get back to you.
Okay. All right. Andre?
Yeah, so hopefully we are 1 week away today from opening back, because hopefully February 22nd we can start seeing you guys in the store again. And of course, we're going to take all the safety precautions and stuff. We'll probably be at a 25% capacity, which will probably mean only 3 people in the store at a time, but hey, that is way better than none. At this point, I will take 1 person at a time via appointment. So guys, I'm really looking forward to seeing you. Hope you guys are looking forward to getting back out, but again, let's take it safe so that we don't have to be locked down for the 3rd time and stuff. But yeah, so the store, for those of you who don't know, we are at Warden and Highway 7 in nice plaza there. Lots of other things to do in the plaza. There's a grocery store, there's McDonald's. Canada Computers just opened up too in our plaza. Finally took over that Future Shop spot that's been empty for like 10 years.
Yep.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah, so there is stuff that you can do.
And
Again,
bubble tea.
yeah, not advocating that we just go out and shop all the time or whatever. But listen, the economy is taking a really big hit, and like I said, it would be really nice to see you guys face to face. Even though we appreciate doing this and reaching out, it's been very therapeutic for the past almost year we've been doing this. So we're gonna try and keep at it and stuff. So like John said, subscribe, like, share, and comment, interact with us. That's what we do best, and I don't want to lose that, even though we may or may not be able to see everybody in the store.
Yeah. So as Andre said, please support your stores, your local small businesses as much as possible. They really need your help and support. So anything you can do is welcome. No matter how small you think it is always helpful and welcome. Rob,
Hey,
Mr. I couldn't wait to watch a trailer.
He's watching the Justice League trailer
Oh my God.
right now.
Again.
Yeah,
No,
Rob,
no, no,
we're
no.
gonna cut you on the next podcast for the disrespect.
No,
that you
I was
threw to
actually
us.
just messaging my wife saying I'll be up in a couple minutes because we gotta take the dog for a walk. Hey, so yeah, you can find if you're listening to this on Sunday, happy Valentine's Day. Hopefully you're I mean, if you're listening to us as opposed to spending time with your partner, then that's great. You can find John and I
watch
on
together.
tomorrow night live on YouTube at 8:00 Eastern time. We are now in our sister bracket for the best 1980s action movies. This is consisting of more of a sci-fi elements. You got RoboCop, Blade Runner, Highlander, Predator. So we are finalizing our bracket. We'll be discussing that tomorrow night. And we'll probably be talking Justice League trailer as well tomorrow. And
We're gonna talk about it today, actually, but when Rob is gone, because we're gonna
shut up.
Yeah.
And then then we'll do. You can find me online on Instagram and Twitter at Rob Gadet. So that's it. All right. There you go.
All right. So thank you all for listening. I thought we were going to leave on a positive note, but there Rob was just shutting me down like that way and very impolitely. But yeah, happy Valentine's Day, happy Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year for those people out there. Be safe. Hopefully you'll be well, and we will see you all next week. Goodbye, everyone.
Nanu.
Take care.
Bye.
Take it, Stu.